Welcome back to Brian Knows Movies. Let's talk about The Barbarian. This week, I am reviewing The Barbarian, starring Georgina Campbell and Bill Skarsgård, written and directed by Zach Cregger. The Barbarian is this horror film following Georgina as Tess, and Tess has a job interview in Detroit. Unfortunately, all the hotels are booked, so she decides to go on Air BnB. The rental property that she takes, it seems like it's in a wasteland. This is the only standing house in the whole neighborhood. If it was me, I would have left immediately. That'd have been the end of the movie. But to make things worse, Airbnb and Verbo didn't speak to each other, and the place was double booked. There was a guy named Keith there, played by Bill Skarsgård. Even though she didn't trust Keith, they began to develop a relationship and get to know each other through conversation throughout the night. And, they became friends. He actually was possibly kind of cool. Anyway, Tess, the next day, she goes on her interview. She does well. She gets back to the Airbnb, goes downstairs, and gets locked downstairs. And downstairs, she discovers this crazy corridor that has looks like a torture room and underground tunnels and all types of stuff down there. Freaks her out. She had to wait for Keith in this scary environment. He finally shows up. He doesn't listen. For some reason, he has to see for himself. And so he goes down there. She eventually follows him. And you guessed it, there's something or someone in this basement. Now, I really only explained the first 10 to 15 minutes of this film. If I get any deeper into the plot, it's going to be major spoilers. It's going to decrease the viewing experience that you have for this. So I'm not going to go into any more details regarding plot, but I will say this movie pivots. There's twists and turns. There's all types of things that misdirects the audience. I was in the theater with maybe 100 people, and you could hear the gasp and the groans of confusion and the fear in everybody in that room. The set design is beautiful. That neighborhood, the way that it's beat up, and you have this pristine looking house in the middle of this wasteland. The juxtaposition of that is really, really incredible. The juxtaposition within the house itself. You're upstairs, you have this standard Airbnb look, kind of cold but warm at the same time, if that makes sense. But downstairs, you have all this madness going on in this secret passageway. Especially when you get deep into the corridors, it's like you're going into a mine or something. It's very dark, it's very damp, it's very black and gray, juxtaposed once again to upstairs, which is bright and vibrant. Those things really help to amp up the anxiety as you enter these different spaces where the horror happens. Barbarian does fall back on some horror movie tropes, particularly ones that have been used in the past 20 years, but because of the twists and the turns in the beginning and the middle of this movie, they feel fresh. You really don't know what's coming, which heightens the horror. I also think that the practical effects in this movie is great. The best thing about horror movies is that they can be made cheaply. When you go practical, it makes these movies, like one of my favorite movies, The Exorcist, it makes them timeless. They don't age. They feel new no matter when you watch them. And Barbarian took a really good cue from its predecessors and decided to go practical for most of the things going on in this film. And it makes the world feel real and lived in. Now, there's also some social commentary here. Cregger is trying to shed a light here on sexual assault and misogyny and toxic masculinity. There's also some commentary about how police sometimes ignores the citizens. I'm saying all this to let you know those things are there, but this is not a political movie. There's humor in it. Zach Cregger, who is a comedy writer by trade, he couldn't help himself but put some really funny moments in what is a spectacularly scary film. Anyway, so what's my rating? See it, stream it, or skip it. Barbarian is a see it. It's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, horror movies this year so far. It was so fresh. It was so exciting. It was scary. A lot of horror movies to me have not been scary this year, but it delivers on the scares. It's unique. The script is tight, and you really enjoy this theater experience with other folks. But anyway, what do I know? I'm just a guy that loves movies. So if you go see Barbarian this weekend, come back and tell me what you think of the twist. Thank you so much for watching my review. If you liked it, please hit the like button below and continue to share my content. We're starting to gain some momentum in terms of building a community here, which is awesome and exciting. I am really grateful anytime you decide to join me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will see you at the theaters next week.